Today we'll show a quick tutorial on how we make our adjustable webbing straps using our leather webbing strap ends. We have dropped in the blog post the list of materials that you'll need, but you'll basically need 2 yards of 1.5 inch wide webbing, a scrap of leather that is 4 3/4 inches wide by 1 1/4 inch tall, 2 1-inch swivel clasps, 1 1.5 inch rectangle ring, and 1 1.5 inch adjustable slider, 2 double cap rivets, and of course you can use our template to cut out your 2 leather webbing strap ends. We like to use glue that bonds leather. You'll need a mallet for setting rivets or a rivet press, as well as if you're manually punching your rivets, the rivet setter. So let's get started. To get started, we will add the 1-inch swivel clasps to the strap ends. Since the strap ends are 1 1/2 inch wide, but the swivel clasps are only 1 inch wide, you'll need to bend the strap end in half to slip the hardware on. We will repeat this on the second webbing strap end and using our remaining swivel clasp. Now we'll be working with only one initially using the short strip of webbing. This is the 10-inch strip of webbing. And what you want to do first is slide a 1 1/2 inch rectangle ring over the webbing, fold it in half so that the raw edges meet at the bottom. You want to get everything aligned on the sides and at the bottom. I use clips to hold this part in place. Now we have done 2 things. To secure this after it has been clipped, you can either use glue or you can just leave it clipped and go over to your sewing machine and sew a line or a box, sort of a rectangle down at the bottom near the raw edges to hold everything in place. Here we are using glue, and in this video we're using Fabri-Tac, but you can use whatever glue will hold the fabric. Now also you need to add glue on both sides of your strap ends, and you will be doing this on the flesh side or the wrong side of the leather. So now you want to simply position the webbing strap ends over the raw edges of the webbing, and you really don't want your webbing to extend down into the part of the strap ends that are tapered in, so the raw edges, if you did, the raw edges would show, and you want to prevent that. So just in the square portion of the strap ends and fold it in half. Make sure the edges of your leather are even, and then sew around the perimeter of the leather using about a 1/8 inch seam allowance. You may have to do slightly more to make sure that you catch both sides of the leather. Some people like to also add a rivet in the center here, but that is totally optional. This should be nice and secure as it is. And now you can just set your shorter piece aside and we'll work with the longer piece of webbing. To do this, we want to start by sliding one end of the webbing over or through your adjustable slider. And I like to pull, you'll be going up and over the middle bar and then back down. I like to fold mine over towards the back by about 2 inches. But you can eyeball it, it's really up to you. Make sure the sides are aligned. I like to clip it in place. And once everything is neat and clipped, I'll go and sew a box on my sewing machine. Just a small rectangle or a line will even do. So once you've sewn your box, you'll know that your webbing strap end is nice and secure. We will wrap the edges, the raw edges, to hide the raw edges. It also adds a nice decorative touch. We'll wrap our scrap of leather around the raw edges of the webbing. So again, I am adding glue to the flesh side or the wrong side of the leather. And now I'll simply wrap it around the webbing. You want to make sure that the end of the webbing, that raw edge of the leather rather, that the raw edge of the webbing is positioned so that it gets caught in the rivet when you press your rivet holes. Here we're just using a sharp pointy object to mark the location of the rivet holes, and I really just eyeball it. You can decide how many rivets you want to use and where you would like them to be located. So we will punch our rivet holes, and here I chose to do 2 centered in the piece of leather. Then I will add the 2 double cap rivets and move on to setting them. I will be using like manual setting tools, but you can absolutely use a rivet press for these. So now it's time to connect the long strip of webbing, the adjustable portion, to the shorter strip of webbing. And the way I like to think about this is right now I'm using a webbing that doesn't have a top or bottom. It looks the same on both sides. But in the event you're using a webbing with a top and bottom, place the longer strip with the right side or the top facing down. So you'll be looking at that tail, that raw edge of your adjustable, this leather strap accent you have there. And then you want to feed your raw edge of the longer strip up through the bottom of the rectangle ring that you have on the shorter piece. Come back up and feed your raw edge of the webbing through the adjustable slider that's already attached. So you'll be going up through the bottom of the slider, over the center bar, and back out the opposite end. And we are almost done with this strap here. I'll just feed a little bit more through so that it's easier for me to work with the opposite end when I am attaching the remaining strap end. To finish off this strap, we are going to simply add glue to the back of the flesh side of the remaining strap end, and as we did before, we will fold the strap end in half over the raw edge of the webbing. Make sure everything is neat and aligned. Give it a press, and once we allow that to dry, we will sew around the perimeter of the webbing using about a 1/8 inch seam allowance as we did before, and then you are done with your webbing strap. You can also add that optional rivet if you would like, but again, it's fine as it is. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to send one of us a message. Enjoy and happy sewing.